Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Global English Podcast. I'm Jordan.
And I'm Taylor.
And today, wow, we're launching into a deep dive on something that I think hits home for almost every single intermediate English speaker out there.
Oh, absolutely. We're talking about the translation barrier.
The translation barrier. I know this feeling so well. It's that moment where you feel like you know thousands of English words, you've studied the grammar,
Right?
but when you actually try to speak, you just feel slow, so hesitant. It's like your brain is running this clunky old app in the background and it's just slowing everything down.
That is the perfect analogy. And the sources we've been digging into from some really incredible linguists, people with master's degrees in applied linguistics, they describe this as doing double the cognitive work.
Double the work.
Exactly. You aren't just speaking English. You're constantly translating every single thought from your native language, your L1, into English, your L2, right before you say it.
It is exhausting.
It is. And it has a real measurable impact on how you sound.
Okay, so what's the actual number? How much does it slow us down?
So our research shows that a native English speaker in a normal conversation will speak at around, say, 150 words per minute.
Okay, 150.
But if you're stuck in that translation loop, you're probably capped at around 60 or 70 words per minute, no matter how big your vocabulary is.
Wow. So that's less than half the speed.
Less than half.
Yeah.
And that's the wall. That's the performance plateau that so many learners hit and just can't seem to break through.
And that's the pain point, isn't it? It's that feeling of knowing so much, but still sounding, hesitant and just slow. We're going to fix that for you today.
We are. We're going to give you some really precise, battle-tested cognitive techniques. These are designed to help you completely bypass that translation process.
So we're rewiring the brain.
We're rewiring the brain. We have a detailed 4-stage roadmap to help you develop your internal English voice. It's all about shifting your mental processing from your L1 to thinking directly in L2.
It sounds like a total mental overhaul. And definitely stick around to the very end of this deep dive, because after we've broken all this down, we have a fun little pop quiz to test you on the 5 key concepts we're going to unpack.
This is going to be super actionable. It's all about how to make your English access automatic.
I love it. Okay, before we dive in, please do us a huge favor and hit that subscribe button for the Global English Podcast and give this deep dive a like.
It really does help us keep bringing you this kind of in-depth, evidence-based content.
Okay, let's get into it. The translation trap.
Right. So let's unpack this thing, because really understanding the mechanics of the problem is the first step to fixing it.
What's actually happening step by step in my head?
So the sources break it down into this 3-step sequence. It happens almost instantly, but it uses up a huge amount of brain power.
Okay, step 1.
Step 1, you hear or read something in English. Your brain immediately, without you even thinking about it, converts that into your native language, your L1.
Just to understand the meaning.
Exactly. Just to decode it.
Yeah.
Because L1 is the brain's default operating system,
Right, it's a comfort zone.
Totally. Then comes step 2. Instead of trying to form a response directly in English, your brain formulates the best, most detailed answer in your native language.
Because that's where I'm most creative and fastest.
Precisely. All the hard work happens in L1. And then finally, step 3.
The hard part.
The hardest part. The brain does this really conscious, really time-consuming translation back into English. And that's where all the pauses and the mistakes often happen.
So that's why I feel so slow. I'm doing 3 huge mental tasks just to say, hello, how's it going?
You're doing 3 tasks. And what's interesting is that this is exactly what the old-school grammar translation method actually encouraged.
I remember that from school. Lots of textbooks, translating sentences back and forth.
Yep. It focused so much on study explicit rules and translating word for word. It teaches you can know about English, but it doesn't teach you how to use it.
Okay, but hold on. Here's a question I have, and I think a lot of learners have. If I don't translate it into my L1, how do I know I'm getting the nuance right? Doesn't translating actually help me be more accurate, even if I'm a bit slower? We're kind of trading speed for accuracy, right?
That is a brilliant question. And you've just hit on the core psychological reason why people stay stuck. You're absolutely right that translating feels safer.
Yeah.
Feels like you're double-checking your work. But that reliance on your L1 actually prevents you from developing what linguists call implicit knowledge.
Okay, implicit versus explicit knowledge. Break that down for us in plain English.
For sure. So explicit knowledge is what you can state as a rule. Like the third conditional is, If plus past perfect, then plus modal plus have plus past participle.
Something you memorize from a book.
Exactly. It
Yeah.
requires conscious thought to recall and use it. It's
Definitely.
slow, but implicit knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
That's the gut feeling. It's the instinct for grammar that just tells you a sentence sounds right or wrong, even if you can't name the rule.
So it's the difference between knowing why something is correct and just feeling that it's correct.
You've nailed it. And that constant cycle of translation, it stops your brain from building those fast, implicit pathways in English.
So the big realization here is that fluency isn't about knowing more rules.
It's about achieving cognitive automation, the
Oh.
ability to just access and use the language
Yeah.
without your L1 getting in the middle of everything.
And that's where the direct method comes in, right? That's the linguistic idea that supports this whole thing.
Exactly. The direct method is all about immersion. It's about forcing your brain to connect a concept, like the image of a cat, directly to the English word cat.
Without going through the word for cat in my native language first.
You bypass it completely. You build that implicit pathway from the start.
Yeah.
And if we want to speak fast and automatically, we have to start doing that internally in our own heads.
Which brings us to this idea of inner speech. It sounds a little academic, but it's really just that conversation we're always having in our heads, right?
Yep. Verbal thinking, internal monologue, whatever you want to call it. And making that monologue switch from L1 to L2 is the absolute central goal for any advanced learner.
Why is it so critical?
Because it's the engine of that cognitive automation we were talking about. If you can get that inner voice running in English, you drastically cut down your brain's workload, and that's what unlocks real fluency.
Let's talk about the psychological side of this first. The sources mention something about silencing the inner critic. That sounds like pure freedom.
It really is.
Oh.
Think about it. When you're translating, you are giving your inner critic all this extra time to judge every single word choice, every grammar rule before you even speak.
And that fear of making a mistake is paralyzing.
Completely. But when your inner speech is already running in English, your mental focus shifts. It moves away from perfection and toward communication.
So because my thoughts in English are probably going to be a little messy and fragmented, I get more comfortable with the idea that my spoken English doesn't have to be perfect either. It kind of lowers the stakes.
That's exactly it. You start to realize that native speakers make mistakes all the time. They use fillers, they pause, they backtrack.
But they do it fluently.
They do it fluently because their goal is connection, not perfect grammar. By thinking in English, you train your brain to care more about the message than the perfect structure.
That's a huge mental relief. Now, something you mentioned earlier really stood out to me from the source material. It's this idea that our inner monologue has a sound to it, that it has prosody. I never thought my quiet thoughts had a rhythm.
They absolutely do. Prosody is basically the music of a language. It's the stress, the rhythm, the intonation, the way a voice rises and falls.
Okay.
And when you think in English, even silently, your brain is running what some scientists call an internal forward model of how that speech should sound.
A forward model. Okay, that sounds really complex. Can you give me an analogy for that?
Sure. Think of a professional musician. Before they play a piece, they can hear it in their head, right? They're not just thinking of the notes.
They're thinking of the timing, the emotion.
Exactly. The whole feel of the music. It's the same with language. When you internalize the prosody of English, your brain doesn't just connect a word to its meaning. It connects it to its correct sound shape.
So if I hear the word communication in my head with the stress on the right syllable,
Yep.
then when I say it out loud, I'm much less likely to say communication and sound unnatural.
Precisely. Your external speech starts to sound so much more natural because you've already practiced the rhythm internally. Plus, thinking in English makes your listening comprehension way better because your brain is just working in one channel. It's all connected.
That is fascinating. Okay, before we get into the actual roadmap for how to do this, I want to stop and unpack a word we keep using.
Good idea.
The word fluency. We hear it a million times. But for a B1 learner who's really trying to get there, what does it actually mean?
That's a great question because fluency is so often confused with, like, perfection or having a massive vocabulary.
Right. I'm not fluent until I know 20,000 words.
Exactly. But in plain English, fluency is simply the ability to speak or write a language easily and accurately with a smooth flow. It's about minimizing those long pauses and hesitations.
Easy and accurate flow. I like that. It's more about rhythm than just counting words. Can you give us a few examples of how we'd use that word in different situations?
I've got 3 for you. So first, a formal one, like in a professional setting, you might say. Achieving high fluency in a second language requires consistent immersion and targeted cognitive techniques.
Very academic.
Hmm. Second, a more casual one, just describing someone. She speaks Italian with incredible fluency, almost like a native, especially when she's talking about pasta.
I can picture that. And a weird one.
And for a funny or weird one. After his third espresso, he gained a sudden and questionable fluency in talking about quantum physics. Thankfully, it wore off.
I've definitely had some espresso-fueled fluency before. Okay, let's try a quick skit. Imagine we both just gave a big presentation at work. I felt pretty good about my data, but I noticed I kept pausing to find the right word. I really need to work on my spoken fluency.
I thought you were really clear. But I get what you mean.
Well,
Ultimately, people just want smooth communication. If you focus on your inner speech, your external fluency will improve naturally.
that's the goal. I just want the words to flow without all that effort.
And remember the collocations that go with it. You can achieve fluency, improve fluency, or talk about your English fluency.
Perfect. Okay, that brings us to the second word that is the foundation of this entire deep dive, cognitive. We've said cognitive load and cognitive automation. Sounds very scientific. Can we just break down what cognitive means for our listeners?
Absolutely. Cognitive just means anything related to the mental process of thinking, understanding, and knowing. It's all about your brain's systems for processing information.
So memory, analysis, judgment, all that stuff.
All of it. So when we say cognitive fluency, we're literally talking about how fast and easy your brain can handle English.
And we want to reduce the cognitive load, the amount of mental work, so we don't get tired out.
Exactly. Okay, 3 examples. First, a formal one you might see in a study. The research focused on the cognitive development of bilingual children.
Okay, about brain development.
Second, a casual one about everyday life. I can't believe I forgot his name. My cognitive functions are definitely not awake yet this morning.
I say that every morning. And a funny one.
For a funny one. After the 3-hour meeting, his only remaining cognitive function was the ability to locate the nearest coffee machine.
That is so relatable. Okay, let's do a quick role play with it. Imagine we're trying to plan a really complicated vacation together.
I'm in.
Okay, trying to coordinate the flights, the hotels, and the car rentals for 5 different people. My brain hurts. The cognitive load is just too high.
I totally agree. We need to offload some of this mental work. Let's make a shared document so we can reduce the cognitive strain on our memory.
Good idea. A simple list could trigger a helpful cognitive shift for us. Just seeing it all laid out.
Exactly. And listeners, remember those common pairs, those collocations?
Yeah.
Cognitive load, cognitive shift, and cognitive function. They're all about how your brain is working.
Okay, so now we have our key terms. Let's get into the roadmap.
Yes. The most important part of this deep dive. This is the actionable 4-stage strategy for moving your inner voice from being dependent on translation to, well, to spontaneous abstract thought.
This is the plan. I want to know exactly what I should be doing at each level.
Okay, stage 1 is what we're calling the translation trap stage. This is for most B1 and early B2 learners. You know you have the problem, and your main goal is to reduce that L1 mediation as much as possible.
And the technique is?
The technique here is collocation, folks.
Collocations. Word pairs. Why is that the key to breaking the translation habit?
Because when you translate word by word, your brain is doing 2 things. Choosing a word and then figuring out the grammar to connect it to the next word. It's very slow.
Okay.
But by learning collocations, you learn language in pre-made chunks. Phrases like take a break or heavy rain.
So instead of thinking word, 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 my brain just thinks chunk.
Precisely. You are teaching your brain the skill of chunking. You skip the grammar calculation for that phrase entirely. You just retrieve the whole chunk instantly. If you learn 3,000 collocations, you have 3,000 phrases ready to go.
It's like having pre-built Lego sets instead of a pile of individual bricks.
Perfect analogy. It dramatically reduces the cognitive friction. So start simple, verb-noun collocations like make a decision or do your homework.
A really solid foundation. Okay, so after I'm focusing on chunks, what's stage 2?
Stage 2 is the rehearsal stage. This is for intermediate learners who are getting good at chunking. Your inner voice is working in English now, but you mostly use it for simple planning or preparing for a conversation.
And the technique to get better at this stage?
It's self-narration.
I love this one because it's completely free and you can do it anytime, anywhere. So how should people actually do it?
It needs to be continuous and really low stakes. You just start narrating your immediate everyday actions in English.
Like a sports commentator for my own life.
Exactly. As you're making coffee, don't just think the word coffee. Think, okay, I'm opening the cupboard. Now I need to get the coffee beans. The water is boiling now. Simple present tense is perfect.
What happens if I'm narrating and I get stuck on a word? Like, I don't know the English word for kettle.
Yeah.
Do I cheat and look it up in my L1?
Absolutely not. The sources are really clear on this. You have to find a way around it in English.
So I describe it.
You describe it. Instead of kettle, you think, I'm pouring water from the thing that boils water. This forces your brain to stay in English and actively search for alternatives, rather than just giving up and going back to L1.
It's like a little workout for my brain.
It's the perfect workout. Okay, so after continuous self-narration, what takes us to stage 3?
Let's hear it.
Stage 3 is automaticity. This is the upper intermediate phase. You can now sustain an internal English monologue pretty well. You're chunking language, but your speech might still sound a bit unnatural.
Because I don't have the rhythm right, the prosody.
Exactly. You're missing the music of the language. So the technique here is shadowing.
Shadowing. This is where we start training the sound, not just the words.
Precisely. Shadowing is when you listen to a native speaker and you try to replicate their speech, their speed, their rhythm, their intonation, almost at the exact same time as you hear them.
It feels so awkward at first.
But it does. But you are literally turning that silent, internal forward model we talked about into a physical sound. You're aligning your brain and your speech muscles with a native speaker's tempo.
Now, I read in the sources that the material you choose for shadowing is super important. Why is that?
Because if you try to shadow something that's too fast or too complex or has a really strong accent you're not used to, you'll just get frustrated, and you might even reinforce bad habits.
So you need a clear, stable model.
You do. That's why the recommendation is to use high-quality conversational material, something where the goal is to hear how people actually talk, not, a formal news report.
And you should be focusing on the how, not the what.
That's the key distinction. It's about rhythm, not vocabulary. Which brings us to the final stage. Stage 4, abstract thought.
This is the advanced level.
Yeah.
C1, C2.
The goal here is no longer just planning your day or getting the rhythm right. It's about being able to spontaneously discuss complex, abstract ideas completely in English.
So this is when I start thinking about politics or philosophy in English, not just what I'm having for dinner.
Exactly. You're moving beyond describing the world around you and into deep conceptual thinking. And the technique for this is to seek out learn in English content.
What does that actually look like?
It means you deliberately choose to learn about a complex topic like history or science or economics, but you do it using English materials. You're listening to a podcast not for the English lesson, but for the actual subject matter.
So the topic itself is so challenging
Yes.
that my brain is forced to stay in English just to keep up. Translating would be way too slow to understand the ideas.
You've got it. The intellectual demand of the topic becomes the engine that keeps your L2 monologue running. You're no longer just communicating in English. You are truly thinking and learning in English. That's the ultimate goal.
That's a powerful roadmap. Okay, now that we have that, let's go back to a word we use to describe that feeling of being stuck. To plateau. Every single B1 and B2 learner knows this feeling, when you just stop improving. What does it mean exactly to plateau?
To plateau means to reach a stable level where you feel like little or no progress is being made, especially after a period where you are improving a lot. It's when your current study methods just stop working for you.
It's that flat top of the mountain. You're high up, which is great, but you're not moving any higher. Why does this happen so often at the intermediate level?
Because the easy strategies that got you there, like, say, memorizing basic vocabulary lists, they're not enough to challenge your brain anymore. To break the plateau, you have to introduce a new kind of cognitive challenge, like self-narration or shadowing.
You have to shock the system a bit. Let's get 3 examples of this word in action.
For sure. 1, a formal example. Data suggests that language acquisition often sees a noticeable plateau around the B2 level, requiring new active output strategies.
Very academic.
2, a casual one. I was making great progress at the gym, but my fitness has really plateaued this month. I think I need to change my workout.
I've been there. And a funny one.
And a funny one. My cat's enthusiasm for his new toy pretty quickly plateaued after about 5 minutes.
That's every cat. Okay, let's roleplay this. I'm feeling frustrated with my English.
Let's do it.
Ugh, I feel so stuck. I've been using the same vocabulary for months, and I just can't seem to sound any better. I've definitely hit a plateau.
It's the worst feeling, I know. But the key is to find what needs to change. Since you've plateaued with vocabulary, Maybe you need to switch your focus to intensive listening to break the plateau.
You're right. I need a new method to get my brain growing again.
And remember those collocations.
Yeah.
You can hit a plateau,
Yeah.
break the plateau, or talk about the intermediate plateau.
Perfect. So we've established that listening to podcasts is a key tool for all of this, but just listening isn't enough, right?
Right. Passive listening in the background while you cook is fine for general exposure, but it won't rewire your brain for fluency. You need strategic, active engagement.
And that starts with the Goldilocks principle.
Exactly. Not too hard, not too easy. The material has to be just right.
And what's the magic number for just right?
The sweet spot is about 80% comprehension. If you understand 95%, it's too easy. Your brain isn't being challenged. If you only understand 50%, it's too hard, and you'll just get frustrated and switch off.
So 80% keeps you challenged, but not overwhelmed.
It's the optimal learning zone. Once you find that content, you need to use intensive repetition.
Okay, this is the part that sounds a little crazy. The sources recommend listening to the same short episode 20 times or more.
It sounds like a lot, I know.
Why so many times? Why not just find 20 different episodes?
It's all about how your brain builds those neural pathways. You need a ton of repetition to move a new word or phrase from your conscious working memory
Where I know the word exists.
to your automatic long-term memory, where you can use it without thinking. That 20-plus repetition process is what achieves that chunking and makes those patterns automatic. You're forcing it into your brain's fast retrieval system.
So it's about depth, not breadth. I'm internalizing the rhythm and the feel, not just memorizing a list.
Exactly. And to make those 20 times really count, you need the multi-pass active listening strategy. 3 passes, each with a different goal.
Okay, walk us through it. What's the routine?
Pass 1 is for gist. This is just pure listening, no transcript. Your goal is just to understand the main ideas. Don't stop, don't look up words. You're training your brain to handle ambiguity.
Okay, so I'm not allowed to panic if I miss a word.
You're not allowed to panic. Then, pass 2 is for analysis. Now you listen again, but with the transcript. You pause all the time.
And this is where I'm a detective.
You're a detective. You're confirming what you thought you heard, you're writing down new collocations, and you're connecting the sound of the word to how it's spelled. This is the deep study phase.
Got it. And the final pass.
Pass 3 is for automation. Now you've understood the content, you've analyzed the language, so you put the transcript away and you use the audio for shadowing practice.
Ah, so this is where it all comes together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Your entire focus now is on replicating the speaker's speed, their rhythm, their prosody. This is what hardwires the language into your muscle memory and makes you sound more natural.
I love that 3-pass system. It's so structured, and it keeps bringing us back to this word, collocation. You said focusing on them is key for stage 1 and finding them is key for pass 2. Let's define it clearly. What is a collocation and why does it make you sound so much more like a native speaker?
A collocation is simply words that frequently and naturally go together in a language. It's about predictable partnerships. Native speakers don't just pick random words. They use word combinations that have been established over time.
So it's not grammatically wrong to say powerful coffee, but it
Yeah.
just sounds weird.
It sounds weird because the established natural collocation is strong coffee. And when a learner uses the wrong collocation, it's a dead giveaway that they're translating directly from their L1.
So mastering collocations is the difference between being correct and being natural.
You absolutely nail it. Let's do 3 examples.
Right.
1, a formal example. Mastering academic collocations like conduct research or reach a consensus is essential for university-level writing.
Okay.
2, a more casual one about a common mistake. Remember, we don't do a mistake. The correct collocation is make a mistake.
That's a classic one and a funny one.
And a funny one.
Yeah.
He tried to offer his host a vigorous welcome, but was gently told the standard collocation is a warm welcome.
A vigorous welcome sounds a little scary, actually. Okay, let's do a skit where I use a weird one and you correct me.
Go for it.
So how was your weekend? Did you make a good time?
I had a great time, thank you. But I noticed you said make a good time. It's a great example because in English, the native collocation is almost always have a good time.
Ah, I see. So even though make and have can be similar, they're not interchangeable here. That's the power of learning these chunks.
It totally is. And remember to look for them everywhere. Collocations like expand vocabulary, boost confidence, and develop skills.
Okay, so we have the roadmap, we have the techniques, but what are people doing wrong? Let's talk about the common mistakes that keep learners stuck in this trap.
Right. The sources point to 4 really specific mistakes that actually reinforce the L1 translation habit we're trying to break.
I'm ready for some tough love. What's mistake number one?
Mistake 1, waiting to feel ready. This is the deadliest kind of procrastination for language learners.
I'll start thinking in English once I know 5,000 words.
Exactly that. I'll start self-narration when my grammar is better. But the reality, based on cognitive science, is that you learn to think in English by thinking in English.
You have to start now, even if it's messy.
You have to start now. Every day you wait, you're just making that default L1 habit stronger.
Okay, that's a powerful one. What's mistake number two?
Mistake 2, trying to think in perfect sentences. This is a huge cognitive burden. If you're trying to construct these perfectly grammatical, beautiful sentences inside your head, you're just going to exhaust your brain and give up.
Because applying all those explicit grammar rules in real time is too much work.
Way too much cognitive load. Native speakers don't think in perfect sentences. We think in fragments, in images, in half-formed ideas. Your internal monologue should be messy.
So give myself permission for my inner voice to be imperfect.
Please do. The goal is to keep the thought process going in English, not to write a novel in your head.
That's so liberating. Okay, mistake number 3.
Mistake 3, only thinking in English when you're studying. Language isn't a 30-minute-a-day hobby. To really make this shift, it has to become a 247 environment.
If I only practice for a short time and then go back to my L1 for the other 23 hours.
That L1 will always be the dominant driver in your brain. You have to build an immersion bubble, even if you don't live in an English-speaking country.
So how do we do that? What are the practical steps?
Simple things. Change your phone's language to English. Change your computer's language. Watch shows with English subtitles, not L1 subtitles. Have a podcast on in the background while you're commuting. You just need to constantly surround your brain with English input.
Marinate your brain in English. Love it. And the final mistake.
Mistake 4, relying on L1 translation dictionaries. This is a big one. It directly reinforces the exact neural pathway we are trying to destroy.
Because every time I look up an English word and see its L1 equivalent.
You're strengthening the link between the two. You're telling your brain, this is the mediator. You always have to go through L1.
And the solution is to switch to an English dictionary, even though it feels harder at first.
It's so much harder at first, but it's crucial. It forces your brain to understand the new word using the English you already know. You're thinking about definitions and connections inside English, not looking for a simple equivalent. You're cutting out the middleman.
You're learning concepts, not just translations. That's a huge shift. Okay, let's do our last stop and unpack for a word we used in the roadmap. Let's.
The word is rehearsing. In stage 2, you said the inner voice is used for rehearsal or planning. What are we actually rehearsing in our heads? So rehearsing is basically practicing something, often mentally and repeatedly, to prepare for a future performance or situation. In this context, we're talking about mental rehearsal.
So it's more than just general thinking. It's targeted practice for something specific that's coming up.
Exactly. You're pre-activating the specific vocabulary in chunks you know you're going to need. This makes them way easier to access when you're under pressure. It stops you from panicking and going back to L1.
Let's get 3 examples.
Okay, 1, a formal one. Before the big presentation, the CEO spent all morning rehearsing her key arguments to ensure they were perfect.
Makes sense.
2, a casual one. I spent the whole drive over here rehearsing the apology I needed to give my friend so I wouldn't mess it up.
We've all done that. And a funny one.
And a funny one. He was busy rehearsing how he would politely ask the barista to spell his very unusual name correctly on the cup, only to find out she'd already spelled it perfectly.
All that anxiety for nothing. Okay, let's do a skit where we demonstrate this.
Yeah.
I'm nervous about a difficult phone call I have to make.
Perfect.
I have to call the phone company about this extra charge on my bill, and I always freeze when I have to argue in English.
Okay, don't call yet. Take 2 minutes for some mental rehearsal. Just whisper the key phrases you'll need. Think, like, I am calling to dispute a charge. My account number is, can you explain this fee to me?
Right. That's a much better idea. I feel like after a quick rehearsal, the words are already primed. They're closer to the surface, so I won't have to search for them during the actual call.
That is the power of the technique. And remember the call locations. Mental rehearsal, a rehearsal strategy, or to rehearse your lines.
Brilliant.
Ah.
Okay, that brings us to our common mistakes segment.
My favorite part.
This is where I bring up a common error I hear from learners.
Uh-huh.
I saw a comment the other day, and someone wrote, I have to get my confidence high before the interview. The meaning is clear, but is that correct? Can I say, get my confidence high?
It's such a fantastic question because you're right. The meaning is 100% clear,
Yeah.
but a native speaker would almost never say it that way.
So it's unnatural.
It's unnatural. It's another collocation issue. We just don't pair the verb get with confidence high. We use other more specific verbs to talk about increasing our self-assurance.
Okay, so what is the natural native speaker way to say it?
You usually hear one of two main options. It depends on the context. You would say, I need to boost my confidence, or I need to gain confidence.
Boost or game? I hear those all the time. What's the subtle difference between them?
Great question. So when we use boost, it usually implies a quick, powerful, and sometimes temporary increase.
Like a rocket booster?
Exactly. It's a quick fix. You might say, listening to my favorite power song really boosted my confidence right before I went on stage. It's an immediate lift.
And gain sounds more gradual.
It is. Gain suggests a slow, steady accumulation over time, usually through hard work. You'd say, over the last year, I've really gained a lot of confidence in my speaking abilities.
So boost is fast and targeted, gain is slow and earned.
You got it. And both are so much more natural than get confidence high. It really shows why learning collocations is so important.
It really does. Thank you for that correction. Okay, I think it's time.
It is. We have covered so much ground today. And as promised, it is time for the pop quiz to see how much you and all of you listening have absorbed. Ready?
I'm ready. I've been mentally rehearsing my answers this whole time.
I would hope so. Okay, question 1. What is the linguistic term for the music of a language? The rhythm, the stress, the intonation that you practice during shadowing.
That is prosody, the natural rhythm.
Correct. Question 2. What's the word for that frustrating state when you've stopped making progress and you need to try a new strategy?
You have hit a plateau.
Spot on. Question 3. What's that academic-sounding word that describes all the mental processes of thinking and understanding?
That is the cognitive process.
Perfect. Question 4. When you practice a conversation in your head to prepare for something in the future, what are you doing?
You are rehearsing or doing a mental rehearsal.
Excellent. And the final question, number 5. What do we call words that naturally go together, like make mistake or strong coffee?
Those are collocation.
A perfect score. You aced it.
And hopefully everyone listening did too. Okay, to quickly summarize the 3 most important takeaways from today that you can start using right now.
Let's hear them.
First, you have to commit to L2 inner speech. Make the conscious decision to stop translating and start thinking directly in English, even if it's messy at first.
Second, always follow the Goldilocks rule for your listening practice. Find that content with 80% comprehension to stay challenged, and then use that 3-pass strategy for intensive repetition.
And third, it's all about consistency. Build that 24/7 immersion bubble. Whether it's 5 minutes of self-narration or 10 minutes of shadowing, make it a daily habit. That's what drives the cognitive shift.
And before we go, we have one tiny micro challenge for you. Just one thing to do today. Choose one of the 5 words we unpacked: fluency, cognitive plateau, collocation, or rehearsing. And just try to use it 3 times in your internal self-narration today.
Just 3 times, that's it.
That's it. It's the first small step toward making it automatic.
A perfect, actionable step. Thank you all so much for joining this deep dive. And please don't forget to like this and subscribe to Global English Podcasts.
And I'm Taylor. Bye.
From Jordan, see you next time.